fainted in the heat. He was the one who carried me. I was standing in front of the Shepherd Ferry mural, trying to sketch the way the late afternoon light caught the spray paint's metallic edges when the world started tilting sideways. It was my third day in Miami, 98 degrees with humidity that felt like breathing underwater, and I'd been so focused on documenting every piece of street art in Wynwood that I'd forgotten to eat lunch, or breakfast, or drink water since my morning coffee 6 hours earlier. The sketchbook fell from my hands first, then my knees hit the concrete, and the last thing I remember before everything went black was thinking how embarrassing it was going to be to faint in front of tourists, like some fragile flower who couldn't handle a little heat. When I came to, I was lying on a couch in an air-conditioned room that smelled like coffee and expensive cologne, and the most beautiful man I'd ever seen was kneeling beside me with a water bottle and an expression of genuine concern that made my already racing heart skip entirely. "There you are," he said, his voice carrying just a hint of an accent I couldn't place. "How are you feeling?" Before I continue this, hit that subscribe button. I post one real story every single day. And tell me in the comments, Chej, where are you watching from? I'm always curious who my stories are reaching. Mortified, I croaked, trying to sit up and immediately regretting it when the room spun. Did I really faint in the middle of the street like some Victorian maiden? His laugh was warm, rich. More like a dedicated artist who forgot that the human body needs fuel to function. When was the last time you ate something? I had to think about it, which was answer enough. Yesterday? Maybe? Jesus. He handed me the water bottle, his fingers brushing mine in a way that sent electricity up my arm. Drink this, slowly. I studied him while I sipped the water, trying to figure out if he was real or some heat-induced hallucination. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine tall, probably mid-40s, with salt and pepper hair that was perfectly disheveled and dark eyes that seemed to see everything. He was wearing a white linen shirt rolled up to his forearms and dark jeans that probably cost more than my rent. "Where am I?" I asked, looking around at what was clearly an art gallery: white walls, polished concrete floors, carefully positioned spotlights, illuminating paintings that made my student loan debt feel even more crushing. "Meridian Gallery. I'm the owner." He settled into the chair across from me, maintaining a careful distance. "I saw you collapse outside and brought you in." "I'm Adrian, by the way. Adrian Castellanos." "Luna," I said automatically, then felt stupid for giving my nickname instead of my real name. "Luna Martinez. And thank you for helping me. You didn't have to cheat." Of course I did. There was something in his tone that made me look at him more closely. "Are you here for Art Basel prep?" I almost laughed. Art Basel Chte, international art fair that attracted collectors and celebrities and people who could afford to spend my annual income on a single piece. No, I'm here on an internship with the Miami-Dade Arts Council, documenting street art for their cultural preservation project. Alone? Alone. I took another sip of water, feeling strength creep back into my limbs. My professor thinks I'm crazy for doing a solo internship, but I wanted to prove I could handle something like this by myself. "And how's that working out for you?" "Well, I made it 3 days before collapsing in public, so not great." His smile transformed his entire face, made him look younger and more approachable. 3 days is respectable. Most people don't last 2 in this heat if they're not used to it. "Are you always this optimistic with strangers you have to rescue?" "Only the ones who were sketching with such intensity that they forgot about basic human needs." He leaned back in his chair, studying me with an expression I couldn't read. "I watched you for about 20 minutes before you fell. You were completely absorbed in what you were doing. Heat that had nothing to do with the Miami weather crept up my neck." "You were watching me?" "I was watching an artist work. There's a difference." His voice was matter-of-fact, but something in his eyes suggested it was more than idle curiosity. "The way you move when you draw. It's like you're having a conversation with the wall." The recognition. I finished the water and felt human enough to attempt sitting up properly. "Thank you for the rescue and the water and not calling an ambulance." "Where are you staying?" Adrian asked, pulling out his phone. "I'll call you a car." "The hostel on South Beach, but I can take the bus." Luna. The way he said my name made something flutter in my chest. "You just fainted from heat exhaustion. You're not taking public transportation." "I can't afford." "I didn't ask if you could afford it." There was authority in his voice that suggested he was used to being obeyed, but not in an arrogant way. More like someone who'd learned that sometimes taking care of people meant making decisions for them when they couldn't make good ones for themselves. "Why are you being so nice to me?" I asked. "You don't know anything about me." Adrian was quiet for a moment, his dark eyes searching my face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "What's your Instagram handle?" The question was so unexpected that I answered without thinking. "Luna's Ghost, why?" Something shifted in his expression, became more intense. "Luna's Ghost. You posted a series last month. Abandoned places in Detroit, urban decay as metaphor for economic collapse." My mouth fell open. "You follow my Instagram?" "I've been following your work for 6 months." He leaned forward in his chair, and I could see excitement building in his expression. "Luna, I've been trying to track down the artist behind those pieces. I wanted to offer you a show." The world tilted again, but this time it had nothing to do with dehydration. "A show?" "Your work is extraordinary. Raw, honest, technically brilliant, but emotionally accessible. You have something most artists spend their entire careers trying to find." "What's that?" "A voice that matters." I stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. I've been sending messages through Instagram for months, but you never responded." "Because I don't check my DMs, they're usually just." I trailed off, embarrassment flooding through me. "Oh my God. You're the gallery owner who's been trying to contact me." "Guilty as charged." "I thought you were some kind of scammer. People are always trying to get free work or I stopped, realizing what this meant. "You really want to give me a show?" "I want to give you a career." "This is insane," I said, standing up too quickly and immediately swaying. Adrian was beside me in an instant, his hand on my arm to steady me. "Easy, you're still recovering." But I wasn't talking about my physical state. I was talking about the fact that a man who looked like he belonged in a cologne commercial was telling me he wanted to represent my art, which I'd been posting on Instagram between shifts at a coffee shop and classes I couldn't really afford. "Adrian," I said carefully, "I need you to be completely honest with me. Is this real? The show offer, I mean. Or are you just being nice to the pathetic girl who fainted on your sidewalk?" His expression grew serious. "Luna, I don't offer gallery representation out of pity. I'm a businessman. I only invest in art that I believe will appreciate in value and attract serious collectors." "And you think my work fits that description?" "I think your work is going to change how people think about urban landscape photography. I think you're going to be the kind of artist people discover and then feel smug about knowing before everyone else caught on." I looked around the gallery, at the price tags that made my student loans look like pocket change, at the sophisticated lighting and the polished presentation that turned art into commodity. What if I'm not ready for this? What if you are? What if I fail spectacularly and embarrass you? What if you succeed beyond your wildest dreams and kick yourself forever for almost saying no? What would you do if you were in my place? Tell me in the comments. The question hung between us like a bridge I wasn't sure I was brave enough to cross. Here was everything I'd been working toward: recognition, opportunity, a chance to make art my actual career instead of just a dream I pursued in spare moments between survival jobs. But it was also terrifying in a way I wasn't prepared for. "There's something else," Adrian said, his voice careful. "What?" "The attraction I feel toward you has nothing to do with your art." The words hit me like a physical blow. Adrian Chi. I know how this looks. Older gallery owner, young artist, classic power dynamic nightmare. But Luna, I need you to understand I've wanted to find you for months because of your work. The fact that you're beautiful and intelligent and completely captivating is just a complication I wasn't expecting. A complication? Because I want to represent your art, and I want to take you to dinner, and those two things probably shouldn't coexist. I stared at him, this man who'd rescued me from the sidewalk and was now offering me everything I'd ever wanted professionally, while simultaneously admitting he was attracted to me. You're right. They probably shouldn't. So what do we do? I don't know. I sank back onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. This is all happening too fast. This morning, I was just an intern documenting murals, and now you're an artist with gallery representation and a moral dilemma. Is that what this is? A moral dilemma? Adrian sat on the edge of his desk, close enough that I could smell his cologne but far enough away that I didn't feel crowded. Only if we make it one. What do you mean? I mean, we could keep it simple. You think about the gallery offer, truly think about it, not as the girl who just fainted, but as the artist who's been working toward this moment for years. And if you decide you want the representation, we figure out the rest as we go. And if I decide the personal stuff is too complicated, then you still get the gallery representation, and I learn to live with the fact that the most interesting woman I've met in years is off limits. And if I decide I want both? His smile was slow, dangerous. Then we figure out how to navigate something that's probably going to be complicated as hell, but might also be extraordinary. The decision. I need time to think, I said finally. How much time? Can you give me until tomorrow? I can give you as long as you need, but Luna, can I ask you something? What? What scares you more, the possibility that this could work out, or the possibility that it might not? I thought about it, really thought about it. The possibility that it could work out, because then I'd have to live up to it. And you don't think you can? I don't know. I've never had anything worth living up to before. Adrian stood up and walked to one of the paintings on the wall, a massive abstract piece that probably cost more than my car. You know what the difference is between artists who make it and artists who don't? Talent? Talent helps, but mostly it's the willingness to bet on yourself even when you don't feel ready. He turned back to me. Your work is already gallery quality, Luna. You just haven't had the platform to prove it. And you're offering me that platform. I'm offering you that platform. Everything else, we'll figure out as we go. I looked at him, this man who'd appeared in my life like some kind of fairy godfather, offering me professional dreams and personal complications in equal measure. Can I see the rest of the gallery? Of course. He walked me through the space, explaining the artists, the price points, the kind of collectors who frequented Meridian Gallery. It was intimidating and inspiring in equal measure. The level of professionalism, the way each piece was presented like something precious, the obvious care that went into every detail. Your work would fit here, Adrian said as we stood in front of a series of urban landscape photographs that reminded me of my own style. Not because I want it to, but because it belongs here. How can you be so sure? Because I've been doing this for 15 years, because I've seen thousands of artists and maybe 50 who had what you have. He turned to face me fully. Luna, I wouldn't risk my reputation on work I didn't believe in completely. And the other thing, the personal thing? That's separate, completely separate. If you want representation but not this, then that's what happens. No pressure, no weirdness, no making your professional life dependent on your personal choices. I studied his face, looking for signs that he was lying or manipulating or playing some angle I couldn't see. But all I found was sincerity and something that looked like hope carefully held in check. Okay, I said. Okay to the gallery? Okay to both. I want the representation, and I want to see where this goes. His smile was brilliant, transformative. Really? Really. But Adrian, I need you to understand something. What's that? I've never done anything like this before. The gallery thing or the other thing. I don't know the rules, and I'm probably going to mess up. Good. Rules are overrated anyway. The beginning. That night, Adrian took me to a tiny Cuban restaurant that didn't look like much from the outside, but served the best ropa vieja I'd ever tasted. We talked about art and travel and the weird synchronicity that had brought us together, and I found myself relaxing in a way I hadn't expected. Tell me about Detroit, he said over dessert. What made you want to photograph abandoned places? Honestly, they felt like how I felt inside, empty but still beautiful, forgotten but still worth documenting. I pushed flan around my plate, suddenly self-conscious. That probably sounds pretentious. It sounds honest, which is rarer than pretentious. Is that your thing? Honest art? It's my thing because it's the only kind that lasts. Everything else is just decoration. I looked at him across the table, this man who was offering me everything I'd never dared dream of, and felt something settle into place in my chest. Adrian? Yeah? Thank you. For today, for seeing something in my work that I wasn't sure was there. It was always there, Luna. You just needed someone to help you see it. When he walked me back to the hostel, when he kissed me goodnight under the neon glow of South Beach, it felt like the beginning of something that might be extraordinary. Complicated, probably. Difficult to explain to people who didn't understand that sometimes the best things in life don't follow conventional timelines or appropriate age gaps or any of the rules that are supposed to keep us safe. But also real. The kind of real that made everything else feel like I'd been sleepwalking through my life until this moment. 6 months later, my first solo show opened at Meridian Gallery. Urban Ghosts. Abandoned America, sold out on opening night, with pieces going to collectors in New York, Los Angeles, and London. The art critic from the Miami Herald called it a haunting meditation on impermanence and resilience that announces the arrival of a major new talent. Adrian stood beside me at the opening, proud and professional and careful not to overshadow my moment. We'd been navigating the relationship carefully, keeping the personal and professional aspects separate in public while building something private and beautiful between us. "How does it feel?" he asked as we watched people examine my photographs with the kind of serious attention I'd never imagined my work would receive. "Surreal, like I'm watching someone else's life. This is your life now. You ready for it?" Before I go, thank you. These stories are real. They're mine. And I share one every day. If you want to hear more, subscribe. I looked around the gallery, at my photographs hanging on walls that had showcased established artists for years, at the red dots that meant someone had decided my vision was worth investing in. Then I looked at Adrian, this man who'd seen something in my work that I'd been too afraid to see in myself, who'd turned a moment of weakness into an opportunity for strength. "Yeah," I said, taking his hand. "I think I'm ready.